Hi there, this is Coach Kyle. I'm excited to be part of your pickleball journey, whether you're doing a team building event or coming to a group class or a private class. This video is to help you understand some of the basic concepts, some of the lingo that we use, some of the terminology, and really just improve your experience with our class and make sure that you have fun and that you're comfortable. So let's get started. So one of the drills might be from the kitchen line. So when I say the kitchen line, that's this line that's 7 feet from the net. You can barely pick it up on the camera on that side, but this line is 7 feet from the net, and it represents the line that you are not allowed to volley inside this zone. It's also called the non-volley line or non-volley zone. So if we do a drill and I say, hey, I want 4 players up at the kitchen line, that means I want 4 players behind this line, but I want you positioned where the cone is, which is the middle of your half of the box. So this is the right half. Sometimes we call it the even half. I'll get to that in a little bit. And this is the left half. Sometimes we call this the odd half because your score would be odd if you're on this side. So when I say 4 players up at the kitchen line, I would want you guys standing basically where the cones are, feet wide apart, shoulder width apart, and then in an athletic stance with your paddle out in front in the ready position. So that would be one of the drills that we do. We might dink, and that's another terminology that we use in pickleball, and that's basically little drop shots. So if I say dink down the line, that means you would hit the ball in front of you. It would just be a little drop shot where you would land it in that opposite side, that opposite 7-foot zone, the non-volley line, the kitchen zone, lots of different terminology that we would use. So that's one of the drills that we're going to do, is we're going to do a dinking drill down the line, and then we might do a dinking drill cross court. So cross court would be on the diagonal. So if we're dinking diagonal, it would look like this. And the stroke that we would use is all from the shoulder, just dropping the paddle below the level of the ball and sending the paddle upwards. Once we get into the class, we'll talk a lot more about the technical nuances of how you can control the ball. But for now, it's mostly about the terminology. Now if we do a drill and I want 4 players on the baseline, I'll say, okay, let's get 4 players on the baseline. The baseline is this back line. And again, I would want you positioned at the middle of your half. So the player on the right would stand essentially where this cone is, start in the ready position with the paddle in front, slightly below the level of the eyes, and then you would have a player on the left, and then you would have 2 players on the other side in these same positions. So this is the baseline, this is the center line, and this is the kitchen line up here. Now when we play a game of doubles, we're going to have 1 player positioned where the camera is. That's going to be the returning player. This player is going to be the returner's partner. And then we'll have 2 players at the baseline on the other side that will be serving. The serving team always starts 2 back because there's a 2 bounce rule in pickleball. So we always start from the right, and we serve from the right box into the right side over here, diagonally, cross court. Once the ball bounces on the returning side, the returner should move up and join the returner's partner at the net, at this non-volley line. Then the serving team will have to figure out how they can win against 2 players at the kitchen line versus 2 players back. There's a few things that you can do. You can lob, you can hit drop shots into the kitchen to kind of neutralize them, give yourself time to move forward, or you can hit drives and hope that they don't give you a good volley back, and you can potentially win the point on an error or get a short ball. So I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to serve diagonal and show you what that looks like. So because there's a 2 bounce rule, meaning that the ball has to bounce on the returner side and our side, we have to wait on the return to bounce before we can move to the net. So the 2 bounce rule is that we cannot hit the ball out of the air unless it's bounced in each court. So the serve return will bounce, then the returner will come to the non-volley line. Then their shot, which is the second shot, once it bounces in our court, we're allowed to move forward, but we have to move forward cautiously because we'll have two players at the net. If we move forward and the ball is up high, they're probably going to hit either down at our feet or into our body, and we're not going to be able to receive that ball very well. So we need to stay back on the third shot and play it out until we get an opportunity to move forward. So the serve has to go cross court, and it has to land past the kitchen line in front of the baseline, just like that. I always hit the tripod for some reason, every single time. All right, just a couple basics of tactical play from the third shot forward. So when we're receiving the second shot, we're preparing for the third shot. There's really a few options. The first option is you can just drive the ball down the middle and hope for a weak volley or an error. But we have to be careful, because if we hit the ball too high, then the net people, the returning side, can hit down, and they have more angles to work with because they're closer to the net. The other thing that we could do is we could try to hit drop shots into the kitchen area, and then that allows us to move forward because the returning team is going to be hitting upwards and they won't be able to put a lot of power behind the ball. And then one option is you can lob. And the only thing about the lob is that, well, it's pretty hard to lob over someone's head in a court that's only 22 feet on this side. So I would avoid the lob. So you can try a lob and see how it works out, but generally speaking, the lobs don't work out very well, and it's also a little bit dangerous for new players because they could fall backwards. So I would avoid using the lobs. I would hit drives or drops as the third shot, the fifth shot, the seventh shot, and just try to make your way into the net. When you're playing at the non-volley line, there's essentially four basic tactical shots. Regardless of your opponents being at the baseline or at the net, it's really about the ball that you're receiving. So if you're receiving a ball that's lower than the top of the net, whether it bounces or you take it out of the air, we need to swing upwards. If you have a ball that's above your head, you should swing downwards. If you have a ball that's between the net and your eyes, we swing forward. And if you have a ball that bounces up around net height, you have an option to speed up, but at the risk of making an error, just like I did. So we want to speed up cautiously. It's better to speed up if the ball actually bounces above the net, and then you're hoping for an error, but you have to be careful that your opponents are going to send the ball back faster than you send it to them, and you might get caught off guard. So we're sending upwards on low balls, we're sending forwards on balls that are kind of in our strike zone between the net and our eyes, and then above our eyes we're hitting downwards. Those are the four basic tactical shots when you're at the net or the non-volley zone. So these are just some of the basics that are going to help you get through the first day and make it an enjoyable experience. If you have any questions for me, you can email me at kwtennisnation@gmail.com, or you can find me on my website at findyourgame.org. I look forward to working with you and hoping you find your game out on the pickleball court.